Hello everybody, I wanted to make this video because I really don't like bullies. I don't have a horse in this race. I don't really follow Metazoo or buy or sell or trade or whatever. Not really my thing at the moment, but this particular video caught my attention, someone from the Flesh and Blood community, and after watching it I had some strong opinions. It's more about the loose investigative style, the witch hunt type stuff. No one probably needs my help, but this stuff does get under my skin because it happens a lot. So I'm going to watch the video. I've already sort of written some notes. I'm going to timestamp everything, put it in a video of my own, and just maybe to help you make up your own mind, or at least show you what you should be looking at when people make claims, how to investigate it yourself. Bit of common sense. I'll try and, I know I said it gets under my skin, I'll try and keep this neutral and unemotional, and just focus on the facts. The first frame of the video is sort of FUD in my opinion. It's just opinion, it's conjecture. So basically the whole premise of this is someone shared an image of the foiling that looks to be the same as the Metazoo foiling. And the assumption there is, well, if this counterfeiter had the photo of the real foiling, it's the same photo that Metazoo shared, then there's a tie. My opinion there is, at the end of the day, you're assuming Mike is lying, rather than understanding that you're labeling someone a counterfeiter whose job is to copy and lie about something. So of course they would have access to a photo that most people have access to, or this photo has been shared publicly, because their whole job, if they're counterfeiting, is to have stuff about the product so that they can counterfeit it. Like, it's not abnormal for a counterfeiter to have some design documents or some copies or photos or whatever. That, anyway, it's not that weird. Even the very first, like, this comment on the Facebook post or the YouTube post saying that it's like you have to assume that Mike is lying or maybe lying is really, to me, pretty unsubstantiated. If you skip forward to 23 seconds in, so the term exact foiling is used. Like, again, just it's thrown out. I know it's based on a photo, but like, it's a star pattern of foil. I used to be in the print industry. I've seen thousands and thousands of rolls of film and foil. Like, there's no way to tell it's exactly the same foil. Like, it's a star pattern, right? If you look up at the stars in the sky, you can easily make 10 trillion versions of a star pattern that all look similar, but none are the same. It seems something that, you would ask the manufacturer if, hey, is this a proprietary foil, or are you using something off the shelf? I can't imagine a collectible game is using something off the shelf. They all try and have a different type of foil so that it can't be copied. But again, assuming it's the exact foil is exactly that. It's an assumption. So we jump to like 152. So he mentions the source. He obviously hasn't named who sort of dealt with this supposed counterfeiter and sent the photos. Like, so here's what I'm seeing. You found a card counterfeiter on Alibaba. Your source is talking to them, which in my opinion, your source is scum if they're sourcing counterfeits. Like, this whole thing to me reeks of someone tried to buy counterfeits of valuable Metazoo cards. They failed because you'll find out soon that the manufacturer refused to actually counterfeit the cards. You have to change them, change where the logos are. Like, this photo shows you that they're changing where everything is and putting an extra red mark at the bottom right because they want it to be a proxy and not something that gets sold as an original. But that source then spreads it to you, and knowing that you're going to use it as, like, to attack Metazoo and the founder. This person, like this counterfeiter, inverted commas, is very obviously saying that no, you have to change the card. And then your source seemed to share it to you after they got rejected about making counterfeits or fishing around for counterfeits or whatever it may be. Yeah, so we jump to 346. So this is a thing, a whole dig at Metazoo games, a Discord, someone getting banned. It's funny to me because like it's their Discord, right? They can ban whoever they like. It doesn't. They don't even need a reason. It's like their little safe space, their room. Now, yeah, okay, someone got banned. That's what this screenshot is, and then it's showing like a what Alan here will call it a I can't remember the phrasing used, but they took it back or they yo-yoed or whatever the wording is. Like they changed their mind, did a 180. Like it's their Discord. You're immediately relating the ban to your video. Like most Discords ban you for advertising anyone's video. Like they don't want content advertised on their channel at all unless it's like sanctioned. Like I have that issue. I'm a content creator. I can't just spam my videos in Discords. I can't spam them on Reddit. And also like why would Metazoo act like this and unban someone if they're hiding something? So if they really just wanted to ban people, they could and they wouldn't have to unban them. They have every right to ban you if they perceive that you're like stirring drama in the Discord or defaming them, defaming the founder, defaming the company. Even if you're in the right, like it doesn't actually make the Discord ban a wrong move. It's like they're a private company. They can ban you if they don't want you on the Discord for whatever reason. Like I don't, and also I imagine if you read the server rules, it'll probably indicate why someone banned you. This particular person got unbanned, which is, to me makes this a moot point. Like you got banned and then unbanned, so whatever the reason, basically it's saying someone maybe was trigger happy and banned you, but they immediately reversed the decision. So just if they were trying to hide something, I don't think they would reverse the decision. I think they just keep you banned. Is what I think. Okay, there's a common theme in this video. So he goes, "This is best terror house. This is the counterfeiter." Like whoa, like clearly, like to me, all the evidence that was put up, the screenshots were them saying they refused to counterfeit. Like they're literally saying, "We'll make you proxy cards, but you have to change them 10%. The logo needs to move, whatever." And to me, they're doing that clearly to make it a proxy, so that no one goes and sells this card. Like it should look like a very bad fake if it's a proxy, so that no one gets ripped off. That seems so obvious. So you're constantly like calling them a counterfeiter to imprint that in my mind that that's how I should believe. But like to date, I haven't seen any counterfeiting. I've seen conversations about counterfeiting, but I've seen conversations about proxies. I haven't seen any counterfeiting. So calling them a counterfeiter is defamatory. Like to this tarot card company, they're refusing to counterfeit, man. They're not saying they will counterfeit. Like that's super obvious. So we skip ahead. At like 4:58, he goes, "The counterfeiter knew." Like what's possible also is that the counterfeiter or the supposed counterfeiter is not a counterfeiter. They're just a proxy printer telling you they don't counterfeit and rejecting every time you try and entrap them into admitting what you clearly like have a hard on for them to admit to. Like I could tell that you're trying to get them to offer you or to confirm that they've printed Metazoo officially, or maybe this is your source talking to them. I don't know whose conversation this is, but whatever the case, it's like pretty transparent, and it's very obvious from their replies whether you believe them or not. I'm not saying, by the way, that Metazoo don't have this issue or that there's no counterfeit cards. I'm just saying, you're saying the counterfeiter knew. You don't know that. You don't know that. There's many other explanations that do not involve the counterfeiter knowing. I think it's more likely that they just keep saying no. And you keep asking for proxies of a like published game with intellectual property. But yeah, they basically here say that they can't make it for you. And I think that's because you're acting suspicious. I think if you contacted them the correct way and you were super flexible about them changing the card, because on a proxy you wouldn't care if they changed the card and the design, they'd probably print you as many as you wanted. You'd find printers in every country to print you proxies. They just would refuse to copy paste stuff. They would change it significantly before they did it, so that they don't get in. So they're not liable for the copyright stuff. Again, you go at like 5:32. You're going Tarot House, the counterfeiter. Like that's an established fact that to me has not been established whatsoever. So here's where I cut like my thoughts on this. So she messages you going, "Hey, have you got the YouTube? Do you know the YouTube?" She's sending you a link that clearly like they got sent. You're mentioning their company by name repeatedly. on the previous video and the one we're watching now. So imagine being a company with 11 to 50 employees, what their page on Alibaba says. Your business name is being blasted and labeled counterfeiters. Friends and family of yours, maybe even customers, are going, hey, you're on a YouTube video. And like all you did was have a private business conversation with someone wanting some proxies, and then your name and contact details for the company are like all over the internet. Nothing bad's actually been shown. Like there's no smoking gun here that I can see, and there isn't one till the end of the video. That's the whole point of me making a video. There's no smoking gun. There's definitely no counterfeit cards shown, no proof of them, no images of them. All I've seen is like images of proxy cards that are, and proxies are not nearly as bad as counterfeits. Some of those are printed on metal and whatever, but like you're just trashing Metazoo, trashing this company based on your assumption that they print counterfeits or that they would be willing to print counterfeits. So yeah, like the video reached them. She might have been upset about that. I don't see like that. That's not proof of anything. Like anyone would react like that. You skip ahead to 547. Like this really like is where I decided to make this video. So you're calling them a counterfeiter. You are calling them a counterfeiter, and then you're showing everyone where to go get the counterfeits. So if you genuinely believe that they're like counterfeit Metazoo cards, you're encouraging this like theft of intellectual property. This is the thing that you're like insinuating that you hate counterfeiting, whatever, or it's bad for the market. Like you could have easily blurred out the actual details of this company, so no one could go print fakes. You could report them to Alibaba, because I know that there's certain rules, even in China, believe it or not, about counterfeiting. They have their own intellectual property laws. It's not the same as everywhere else, but there's severe penalties for doing it, even in China. That's something you can easily search up and find out. You would obviously also assume if they counterfeit Metazoo, which you hate, they could counterfeit Magic the Gathering and Flesh and Blood and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon. Like if this is a good counterfeiter and you're saying, well, you keep labeling them as such, why are you advertising them? Why are you broadcasting who they are? That to me is like the worst thing you could possibly do, is give people access. Like, why on earth would you tell everyone where to go get counterfeits from for Metazoo? Like, whether you like the game or not, that's like a really, really shitty thing to do. At 601, you show the annual revenue, 10 million to 50 million. Like, you're calling them counterfeiters, which is literally like one of the most dishonest industries in the world, but you're like stating as fact that 10 to 50 million is fact. Like, dude, this is a drop-down box. When they created an account, they clicked 10 to 50 million. Is their revenue. If you look how old the company is, I think it's like 2 years old. Man, how come this is a fact, but everything else they told you was a lie? Like, why? You're just choosing to believe what you want to believe that meets the narrative you're sharing, rather than like this. I don't even understand why that's relevant. I know you mention it later, and I'll talk about that when we get to it. But clearly, a counterfeiter who's ripping off people's intellectual property would not find a big moral roadblock in exaggerating their turnover, if you know what I mean. So we jump to like the 7-minute mark, 2,000 views on your video, and then you're linking to the Metazoo like sales listing. I don't know if this is eBay. It might be eBay. First of all, like everyone knows, eBay is not the primary place to buy and sell singles. It's usually inflated pricing. It's other places. Maybe this is TCG Player, irrespective. So you go and say that the people that are smart. It's like, again, you're inferring that people that are smart are agreeing with you or watched your video. So there's 2,000 of them, and then some of those people went to sell these cards immediately based on your video or whatever. Like 1 to 3,000 views doesn't affect any market. That's a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of views. I don't know if you know, but most of your views are like the autoplay on people's phones and PCs. That's why the view count is so low. Like I think only 30% of people watch after the first few seconds. So that just explains that there's not actually 3,000 people or 2,000 people that watched your video from start to end. You would know that when you look at the analytics. It's very obvious. But again, screenshots like this mean nothing. Like there's no correlation. You're not showing me a before and after price. You're just saying, oh, look, a full hollow Mothman is $56. Like, what's funny is I don't know. I don't have a clue if that's a good or bad price because I'm actually don't care about Metazoo. But then that also explains that you clearly know that that's a low price. The only reason you'd know that is if you follow the market. It's kind of crazy because you're trashing the game, but you know the value of the card. Like, I don't know the value of the card because I'm not invested in it. I don't care. The fact that you care or you knew that $56 is like a value, whether it's high or low, yeah, it just says, it clearly shows that I don't care about Metazoo singles pricing, but you clearly do. That's all that shows. You didn't prove that it went up, you didn't prove it went down, you didn't prove your video did anything to the pricing or the market of Metazoo. All you did with this screenshot is show me that you're versed in the pricing of Metazoo singles. So we jumped to 805. This bit I actually laughed. Because you're like, they've been caught red-handed. You got like, you assume that they shuttered their doors and didn't want to talk to you. Like, man, no, you just got left on red. Like a little bit of, like, here's all the reasons that it's possible you got left on red that have nothing to do with your video or being caught red-handed, right? Rule number one, or sorry, reason number one. This lady she's in sales and she can tell that you're wasting her time. You're not a buyer. That's why she's not replying. Another one is the time difference. I did the maths. This was lunchtime, like 1 p.m. in China, so she's probably just on a lunch break and doesn't want to keep answering the WhatsApp message or whatever this is off till she's finished. She might be asking her boss what the F to do with the person that's fishing for information like a fake FBI agent, but doesn't seem to be buying anything. Like, she's just an employee. Maybe she's like replying to real customers, maybe she's playing Metazoo. But when you read this screenshot, like, she already answered your questions in the same screenshot. So you go, do your company manufacture Metazoo? She goes, if you don't have your own designs, we can't print any cards for you. That's all the same. Thanks all the same. Like, she's ending the conversation. Thanks all the same. And we don't make Metazoo cards. Like, she's already answered. So you reply with, we don't make Metazoo cards. And thanks all the same with, did you make them previously? Hello, did you make Metazoo cards previously? Like, when you ask the same question twice and persistently with desperation, which is what, to me, this would come across as if I was in her shoes, I would have blocked you. If, like, this is my profession and I need to find new customers, I wouldn't even be talking to you. And I still wouldn't be hiding anything nefarious. I would just not talk to a customer like you. That's clearly not a customer that clearly wants me to say that I make Metazoo cards. Like, it's all like, you're not acting like a real customer. If you wanted to investigate, you'd have to be much better at acting to get through this, what we would call a gatekeeper in sales, to get information. Like, you're just asking on the nose questions that have a agenda, and even she can tell, and she's not replying. That's what I get from this screenshot. Jump to 826. So this was like also a laugh out loud moment, because you say, I asked to promote Mike's game and he never responded. Like, and you gloss over that. But to me, if I wanted to make assumptions the way you are, I would immediately shut the book on this whole thing right here, because to me now, the story, the script or the narrative is now, you asked to promote the game, which what I'm assuming here means like get sent free product or whatever. But clearly you wanted something out of it. You got rejected and you went out for blood. You want to be the first person to do that. I know other content creators get free Metazoo product and you didn't get on that list or get on, or, whatever. Maybe it doesn't like your content. Whatever the reasoning may be, it feels like you're just out for blood because you got rejected. That's what your little gloss over comment of, I asked to promote the game and he never responded, tells me. As the saying goes, she's just not that into. Like, you're a self-proclaimed whale, or bigger than whales, you're a Kraken. Like, why would you care about Mike and his game so much? And like, just go do what you do. Like, I don't understand the negativity, honestly, here. I don't. If you asked to promote the game and he never responded, that literally tells me where the negativity is coming from. Again, I'm assuming, but I've never ever met a real whale with this much time on their hands to like go after them. So here also like Mike replies within 1 minute with the ultimate transparency. It literally gives you the details of the supply, which I would never do in his shoes because that's my supplier. Like I don't owe you an answer. So it doesn't like this actually speaks volumes for the owner of Metazoo. He's like, yeah, Bayaya do it. Like he's admitting they're made in China. He's admitting exactly where the cards come from. He is either like in a very trusting relationship there, or he's has nothing to hide. That's what it tells me. There's nothing to hide because he could just say it's none of your business which manufacturer we use, and that would actually be a very reasonable response to someone he doesn't have a business dealing with, and your due diligence is irrelevant to his day to day. So yeah, jump to 937. So you're talking here about Bayaya, and so you ask if they manufacture Metazoo. She doesn't answer, which is just a professional doing their job. She goes, "Do you want to buy them?" Because it's a different answer if you're saying, "Do you manufacture Metazoo? I'm a journalist and I have questions," versus, "Do you manufacture Metazoo? Can you sell me some direct?" The fact that you said no, I'm interested in proxies, is you actually stuffed up. Like I think if you said yes, see what you're assuming is if you said yes, she's gonna assume stuff. I think if you said yes, she just would have put you in touch with Mike. Like that's what happens in these scenarios in sales. Is she's like, oh, if you want to buy Metazoo, contact Metazoo. Here's their details. Right, we're just a supplier. You can't buy directly from us. That's the answer I would have expected if you said yes. I want to buy Metazoo. When you ask for proxies, she's like, well, that's not what she does. So she goes, well, you can find them, but no, we don't sell them. Which again is just her doing her job. Like she knows that they exist, and proxies in most places are not infringing on IP. They're not illegal. So she's saying you can find proxies, but we don't do them. Again, man, proxies are like, I want to buy my kid a Charizard and I want it to be permanent. Like I buy a proxy metal plated, gold plated, oversized card. Like the Pokemon company frowns on that, but there's very little they can do there. Proxies are not the same as counterfeits. They're quite a different thing. And like you're also assuming that she would have watched your video. Like she clearly has a problem with English. Like English is not her first language, or she's using a translator, right? Or someone's helping her out. You can tell by her grammar English is not the strong suit here. Like how are you assuming some like sales lady in China for a printing company has watched your video? Like most people in the world aren't watching your video. 2,000-3,000 views is not even a fraction of the Metazoo community, let alone like the factory in China worker in sales who barely speaks English is watching it. Like that's a big leap, a big assumption. I don't think she watched the video. I think she's just doing her job. So you go at 10:36 about how do you know this, like about this being all their printing equipment. Like you have no idea. Big printing companies have 50 of these rooms. It's just a printing and sorting room. I actually don't think the image you show is a printer at all. And I'm from the printing industry. There's no printing equipment in this photo. Printing equipment nearly never has stainless steel. Well, it doesn't because there's heat issues. You would never have a stainless steel printing press. That looks like a cutting machine. That's hence the full sheets there. They've already been printed. They're there to be cut. Hence the blue boxes. It looks like the sheets go into this big stainless steel machine and get cut, and then they get sorted. So like this is most certainly not the full room or the full equipment. Not even close. Not even close. This is clearly the sorting room. The blue bins. The blue bins is hilarious. So the blue bins are really not important. They're like an inanimate object. They're like for storage and sorting. They're generic. Every printer has a similar product if they're doing bulk cards like this particular photo is. I'm going to put some photos. I've got some other photos of other printing companies with blue bins in them, and they don't print Metazoo or card games that you heard of. Anyone doing game cards, poker cards, business cards, wedding invitation cards, every type of card would have similar bins. You're making some really big leaps here of assumption where like they're in the same area, use the same manufacturer, and then you jump from that is they use the same supplies, and then you say the same card stock and the same foil, like the same staff as well. Like these are just assumptions after assumptions. If someone buys into one, they're supposed to buy into all of them. Like the bins mean nothing, man. The bins could be from anywhere. They could be anything. The yeah, I'll post them up. There's photos, plenty of photos of blue bins. And also, like, you're basing that whole statement on blue bins being in 2 photos from each manufacturer, and that the fact that they're in the same province, which is nuts. I'll get to that in a minute, but it's hilarious actually. Again, assuming they're in the same vicinity, the same exact supplier is so false when you realize what area of China you're talking about. So we jump to 1152. Like, you got a retracted message here. I'd love to know what's in that. You don't mention what's in it because you've clearly asked Pokemon. I don't know, did you ask Flesh and Blood or something? I don't know what you asked. It's just weird to me that you wouldn't say what you recall just to sort of be transparent yourself. And like, her answer's no, man. Like, you asked, do you have proxies of any games? Pokemon. Hello. And you retracted something, and then she goes, no, sorry. Like, she said no. But you keep asking. Like, if someone says no and you keep asking, it's just a really bad habit that you have. Like, she said no. She's just doing her job. She's actually being responsive, which is kudos to her, being professional. Again, most people in professional sales would have stopped talking to you after they realize you're not a buyer. Like, their job's only to sell. It's not to answer questions, if that makes sense. Jump to 1235. So you say it's 1 in 436,000 odds of, like, them both being in the same city. Man. Okay. I laugh because it's absurd. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, although that's too late now. I'm sure people are going to take sides and hate me anyway. Just look at Guangdong on Wikipedia, right? That's all I did, by the way. I didn't, like, research. I didn't ask any Chinese friends of mine that I have. This is like... so the Wikipedia reads is like the coastal province, South China, North Shore of the South China Sea. It has a population of 126 million people and 179,000 square kilometers. It's the most populous province of China, the 15th largest by area, and the second most populous country subdivision in the world. That's the area you're talking about, it being a huge coincidence that 2 printers exist in. It has the 4th largest economy in the world, GDP of 1.66 trillion USD. I believe if I rush through this, it's Guangzhou is the capital. Shenzhen is like the trade capital of China. And I believe that Guangdong, or this province, Shenzhen, is literally like on the port, on the biggest port in China. It's close to Taiwan, and it borders Hong Kong, which is like one of the largest financial capitals on the planet. This is not a small area. This is like one of the, if not the biggest trade capital for physical goods in the world. I also Wikipedia'd Shenzhen port, and again, it borders Hong Kong. It's got Dongguan to the north, another place to the northeast, and it's got like a huge population, 17.56 million just in the port of Shenzhen. Now, do a little bit of research by typing into Alibaba Guangdong printers. There are hundreds and hundreds of printers in Guangdong that print cards. I couldn't get through them all. I've got examples of about 12 I'm going to post. I think it's funny that there's just 12 in the same area. Some of them, my friend, have blue bins in the photos. You're talking, so I'll explain something that I know about China. In China, the provinces, like the way the manufacturing and trade and all that works is there's an entire city with electronics. There's an entire city with textiles. There's an entire city of white goods. The goal there, and they manufacture a huge chunk of the world's product of everything, is if you go to China to buy a trading card game or looking for a trading card printer, they're all in exactly the same province. So they all get the business, or one of them gets the business, rather than you having to travel all over China. That's how it works over there. If you want to buy a watch, you go to the watch city. If you want to buy cloth, you go to the cloth city. Massive cities, massive specialist markets. I know that's not like necessarily common information if you're not familiar, but like this assumption of yours and the coincidence to you is just blindingly obvious that these guys are in cahoots is actually nutty. Like it's nutty that you made that tie, not knowing a thing about China, because I just did a quick Wikipedia search and figured it out all by myself that in a city of 100 or in a province or whatever of that many people and that many print companies, not super unlikely that maybe a few of them coexist. There's hundreds of them, if not thousands. I didn't have the time to look them all up. So we get to like 1409-ish, or 1402 it starts. Like, of course she said no if she has an NDA. Like, that's actually this company being honest. Like, you ask them a question that they're bound by an NDA not to answer. So she says no. Then she clearly, when something like that happens, they definitely flag it. They go, look, someone asked something about our NDA, and they've contacted Mike, and Mike said, no, you can tell them like that you're the printer. It's fine. It's not like secret information. That's Mike's prerogative. It's his contract. It's his game, his intellectual property. Metazoo, the trademark, everything. So yeah, now she's also took the time to recontact you and go, hey, look, we had an NDA, that's why I couldn't tell you, but I got authority to say, yes, we are the exclusive printer. Like, that's 100% legitimate how the business world acts. Like, this is great that she did all her due diligence. It shows that the company is, like, it actually shows that they're pretty honest. They follow a contract that they have with Metazoo. Like, they didn't just immediately offer to sell you fake cards. It's fucking great. It's great. It's amazing that she did that. I don't know why you're saying it in a negative sense at all. And like otherwise their answers would be different if they weren't. Like, these are honest protocols to follow, which is don't break the NDA, reach out to the people you have an NDA with, and make sure that they're happy for you to disclose any further information. Again, I would block you already if I was in this position, because I'd be like, this person's digging but they're not buying. Then you're not buying, they're not buying, they're not a sale. Let me move on to someone who's actually going to spend money with the company I work for. These people are being very nice and upfront with you. So we jump a bit ahead, 1430. It's like, you're picking on her saying, Metazoo fact now. Like, her English is broke. Like, it's quite like offensive, not to me, to the wrong people, if you like talk like that about people's responses or like in any way. Like, even the word fact, she might have not been used. Like, she's basically saying, do you understand? Did I answer your question? Now you go. Because she said the word fact that you always do your own research. Like, but you're doing exactly the same thing. You're spouting facts, which are opinion and conjecture. You're just saying them as if they're facts, even though I'm demonstrating that clearly they're not all facts. And like, you're saying you research, but to me you witch hunted, because you didn't even look up the province to see, is it like, does it have 2 factories or 20 in it, which I did in minutes. You didn't look up the province to see the population of the province. So maybe every printing company in China is based in Guangdong. Like, you don't know that. What like, to me, you're correlating your assumptions. You perceive that there's correlation that about your assumption of foul play, and then you'll freely state a lot of facts that you don't substantiate whatsoever. But then you're like picking on this poor lady who's doing her best to communicate with you using the word fact, and then like saying, well, I don't trust people that use that word. I do my own research. Like, and the next message she sends is like about the equipment, and she's like, to me, her response is, I think she went over to the page of this other company. Like, she's never going to check this other company. Like, you're assuming they work together the whole time. That's why you're blinded to this little fact. But she's like, oh, maybe the equipment's a bit the same. Because you like looked and she's like, oh, they use the same blue bins as us. But, dude, they both print cards. Like, yeah, anyone that prints cards probably has those similar bins. I think blue is used because it's like an off color. I couldn't give you a reason for the blue itself, but it's a generic. It's like the most generic item they have in the room. It's not a piece of manufacturing equipment. It's like, why are all pallets made out of wood? And why are all the plastic ones grey? Like, they just are. Every company uses the same pallets. It doesn't mean they work together or even buy them from the same place. It's just like, they just do. I've never heard this kind of logic, like make assumptions that they're in cahoots together, because the like, how many bin manufacturers would exist in the world? It's like, if they had the same milk crate, it's the same thing. It's just because you're not familiar with the blue bins using to sort cards, but my assumption is they're probably extremely common everywhere. Like, again, I've got some more photos of blue bins just lying around from other companies on Alibaba that had them. And I think here she just checked the bins and she's like admitting, okay, maybe some of the equipment's the same, like referring to the bins, but not the same material supplier. And then she's like, wait, I wouldn't even know if the material supplier is the same, because, you know, she maybe isn't in cahoots with them. And she's saying, like, if you had two cards, you could figure out if the material is the same, which she's inferring that she doesn't have the fake cards to check with. Like, she's just saying, like, if you have samples, check and review them. That's what she's saying. She's trying to help you. Like, she's not trying to hide anything. She's trying to help you reach whatever conclusion or whatever research you're trying to do. Jump to 1536. And this is like, you're talking about the only way to tell fakes apart is, I'm trying to remember exactly what you said. It was about the, like, physically the cards, if they're using the same process. Like, it's not the only way to tell fakes apart. Again, the counterfeiter, inverted commas in this case, refused to print your Metazoo cards. I saw the screenshot, or your source's Metazoo cards. The source showed you that. In this case, the way to tell would be just flip the cards over, and the fake ones are going to have a logo in the wrong place. That's what they were changing for them to print your proxies, was to change the position of the logo on the back. So, like, that's the way to tell the fakes, because at this point you still haven't shown any fakes. You've just talked about the proxies and hoped or assumed or came to the conclusion that fakes must exist because this company has proxies that look like the real thing, all from photos, from what we'll get to that in a second. But and we get to that next, actually. 1631. Because, like, at 1631, you kind of slip up here. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but it seems like you're admitting to having some fake Metazoo cards, because you're like, our estimation is that the corners are different, and there's, like, a different fraying. And you're saying, like, the ink is more consistent from the counterfeit. Like, if you know so much, Alan, where are these counterfeit cards? Why did you buy some? Or why did your source buy some? Are they just proxies? Is that why you haven't shown them? Because they're clearly fakes, but they could have been much better? But that's, like, irrelevant. If it could have been much better, but they're just proxies, then that company is just good at making proxies, and this story has no steam. Like, just let it be. You should have let it be if that's the case. Like, you're not accounting for a lot of things here. Like, they said there's an NDA. Usually an NDA would also block them from telling you about any, like, counterfeit proof methods that they're using, like a watermark. They're never going to disclose that to you, but they might have something where if you shine a black light on it, or, like, whatever, there's a million things they can do to a card. There's a million settings they can set on a printer, on a guillotine, on a corner cutter, whatever equipment they want. Actually using a different blade on different cutting machines will result in a pattern in the cut that you can detect. Maybe they don't want you to know that. They're not as old as Magic the Gathering. There still isn't that much time for people to counterfeit them. It's the same reason why the mint in your country or in mine wouldn't necessarily tell you all of the counterfeiting proof things that they have built into the note, because they simply don't want counterfeiters to know. Again, if you have these counterfeit cards, the obvious thing would be to show them and show us that they're indistinguishable. And then this whole video makes sense. We're like, oh shit, like, if I own Metazoo, I'd be very worried. But all you're doing is throwing up these screenshots and assumptions, and it's damaging. I don't really have a stake in this. I don't care that it's damaging. I just don't like this sense of witch hunting because you dislike a product or because they didn't let you promote their product. When it's based on assumptions. It's all assumptions, as far as I can tell. The thing is here, at the 18 mark, you're talking about, like, Mike Mike isn't under an NDA, man. It's his NDA. He owns the IP. So, like, the only company that needs to follow the NDA is the printing company in China that you're talking to. Again, you're assuming that and exaggerating market moving or market movements based on 1 to 3K views on your video. I don't think you need to know who their suppliers are. Like, you're talking about suppliers of what? The blue bins? Like, it's such a far-fetched statement. It tells you nothing. Like, one company clearly has a contract to print Metazoo, which you know because you spoke to Mike and them. And the other company is a supposed counterfeiter that didn't counterfeit anything. They just offered you some proxies and your source some proxies, which it seems like one of you has in your possession. And they refuse to print anything unless they alter the original file or look of it within 10%, which is pretty drastic. Like, to change something 10% bigger, smaller is very noticeable when you compare two products. Like, in this case, all of your arguments, if these two print companies were literally based in the same room, it wouldn't prove your point of anything like untowards happening or like fake cards being printed. Like, literally wouldn't matter if they're in the same city, same whatever. It just seems like you've used all these assumptions and then you're spreading all this uncertainty and doubt and trying to make the market crash is what I'm assuming. But you, like, can't physically hold a fake card up to the camera and show me that it's indistinguishable from the real one. Like, that is the point you're making, is this is dangerous, but like, where's the fake card? Show me. Like, Alpha Investments will show fake cards and show you how to pick them apart and tell you if they're a good one or not, and in most cases they've been pretty crap. I'm waiting to see like this fake card that you're so scared of coming from this proxy company that you keep calling a counterfeiting company, but you won't. You haven't. Like, it seems to me that that's because it would disprove the point, not prove it. It seems, again, if we jump forward, like, these cards are in your possession. It's the only thing you should speak about. The entire video is irrelevant if you just showed two cards that no one can tell which one's the fake. That would be a big issue. And I don't understand, like, what's going on, because like, why would your source, in this case I'm assuming, but why would your source potentially have given you thousands and thousands of dollars worth of fake Kickstarter edition Metazoo cards just for you to crash the market with? Like, if they ordered fakes that were really good, if it was possible to order fakes that were really good, they would sell them. That's the only reason they would buy them, is to sell them and make a profit. Like you said, it's printing money. It seems obvious to me that maybe you've got some proxies that are not great. The print quality is great, but they've changed the back so much that you wouldn't use them. That's what that tells me. You say later on, 2431, like 10 to 50% of the cards are fake because of the revenue of the companies. Man, like, you showed a photo yourself of them packing puzzles. Like, they clearly don't make 10% or 50% of any market of anything. Like, there's thousands, if not millions, of applications for card printing that don't affect the world of TCGs and Metazoo. Like business cards, wedding invitations. I mentioned them before. Like, none of it. That's my response to this video. I could ramble on for hours. It's probably already too long. It's just to, like, I'm more trying to keep people in check. Like, I'm not against you accusing or shilling another company or assuming or whatever, but this was like a really aggressive series of videos trying to shed doubt about a company that I actually care very little about, but on very quick searching and watching your videos showed me that there's way more wrong in your investigation than what they're doing. If anything, it like gives them it shows them in a good light than a bad one. Which is, I think, why a company like that wouldn't respond to this type of stuff, is there's so many holes in your argument and unresearched things and unsubstantiated claims. And most importantly, like, it seems like you might even be in possession of some fake cards, which is the whole question here, is why do you have fake cards, or why is your source buying fake cards? Like, you can say that it's proxies, but I don't know, man. I don't like it. Anyway, I've probably lost a few friends tonight, but I'll talk to you soon.